Hello everyone, and welcome to another News Coolum video and another long incoming charging site review. So I'm down in Sacramento for the day. I needed to drop someone off and run some errands, but while I was down here I decided to check out another charging site, and oh thank heaven, it's 7-Eleven. Now this is a little different than the 7-Eleven charging site that I checked out in Pomona, California. It's similar in that it's still using the ChargePoint Express 250 that are linked together. So these are basically paired 125 kilowatt units, very similar to Tesla's earlier supercharger model. I have not yet seen how these chargers share power, whether the first person plugged in can get a larger amount than the second person. But unlike some of the other chargers with much larger charging modules, usually about 50 kilowatts, these ChargePoint Express modules use a shared 31.25 kilowatt, I believe, charging module. So in theory, someone should be able to, if they got here first, charge at over 100 kilowatts, and then if someone uses the second charger, they should still be charging it pretty close to 100 kilowatts, a little bit less, somewhere around 90. And that's important if that's how it's set up, because it gives priority to the first person who plugged in. If two Bolt EV owners plug in, there's really not much difference. And in fact, if two, say, Hyundai Kona electric owners who can charge at 200 amps each plug in, they should almost get a 50-50 split, because the excess power that would go to the other one isn't worth the amount of power you're taking away from the second one that's charging. So we'll have to see how these chargers split power. But otherwise, I'm really impressed by the site, much more so than I thought I would be. I was under the impression that there were only 2 units here. Well, it turns out that there are actually 4 ChargePoint Express units. So you, in theory, could have 4 small battery EVs maxed out charging here all at the same time, or say 2 faster EVs and 2 slower charging EVs here charging maybe at close to their full capacity, all simultaneously at the same time. So that's a really nice setup. I really like these ChargePoint Express chargers. And just something worth noting, maybe Electrify America and EVgo need to take note of this. ChargePoint, even though these are 125 kilowatt capable cables, they do not need to be supported even on my Bolt EV, which has a sort of proven to be delicate CCS port that requires support with heavier charging cables. So that's something to consider. Otherwise though, this is a really great site, and yeah, let's jump right into the site score. So for accessibility, we're already starting off on the right foot. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I can literally see Interstate 80 right in front of me. This is a major thoroughfare in California, and really, if you're going to cross the country, this is an interstate that you're going to be using. So the fact that we're literally just off of the interstate, the exit's just over there and the on-ramp's just over there, it makes this really easy to get to. This is a gas station and convenience store location, which means you're not fighting for parking spaces. People don't park here just to park here. They're here for a reason. They do what they need to do, and they leave. So these charging spots should be open except for the people who need to use them. They're not free to use, which again is important. You don't want chargers to be free, because people will just use them as a privilege as opposed to out of a need. So if you need to access these chargers, you should be able to. So the only knock on this, the only reason it's getting a 9 out of 10 for accessibility, is that there's no full pull-through parking option, which means that if you're here with a trailer, you need to detach and then pull in nose first, or back in, whichever is your preference, but you can't pull in with a trailer. You could, in theory, access 1 or 2 of these chargers, but then you're blocking 3 or 4 parking spaces, and that's unfortunate. We need to have more pull through parking spaces for EV chargers like the gas pumps that are literally right behind me. So it's getting a 9 out of 10 for accessibility. For amenities, again, this is getting a 9 out of 10. I'm way more impressed with this site than I thought I would be. So not only is this at a convenience store, a 24-hour convenience store with all of the types of things that you would need as a traveler, you also have on-site amenities for things like tire inflation and all vacuums, trash cans, squeegees to wash your windshield, all of those things that you need. And then right across the street there are a couple of restaurants, coffee shops, everything within walking distance. There's a little dog park here where I was walking my little guy before I decided to do the site review. So all of these amenities, the only reason it's getting a 9 out of 10 for amenities, the only knock on it is there's no covering. And again, I've gone back and forth with a lot of you over whether these sites even need covering. I think at a bare minimum, the chargers need covering. You have covering for the gas pumps, you need covering for the chargers, and it would be really nice if you also had covers for the vehicles themselves. I know people aren't standing here holding the charging cable like you do a gas pump, but you don't want your car to be exposed to the elements either, or while you're activating the charger or whatnot. So there should at least be covering for the chargers. So it's getting a 9 out of 10 for amenities. For site concentration, again, I was coming into this expecting to knock this site fierce, but no, there aren't just 2 charging units, there are 4 charging units, which puts this a little bit above average. So I'm getting a 6 out of 10 for site concentration. Yeah, you could make an argument, maybe they should have 6 chargers here. There's certainly space for it. This is going to be a much busier location than the Pomona 7-Eleven, but people are still getting into their groove with these chargers, and I think 4 is a decent number for 125 kilowatt chargers, at a convenience store location, in West Sacramento, so just outside of the city proper that has a lot of charging infrastructure, but I think 4 is a good, baseline starting off point. It's a little bit above average. It's getting a 6 out of 10. For site concentration. Now for location, I'm only giving this an 8 out of 10, and it's not to say that this isn't a great location. I love it, and people who are traveling up to Tahoe from the Bay Area, moving back and forth between the Bay Area and Sacramento, they're going to find a lot of use of, with this charger. So there's value in it. But it's not like an essential location, right? Because we're surrounded by so many other chargers in this area that this is just adding more on top of it. It's welcome, it's needed given the EV population, and these are a vast improvement over the 50 kilowatt chargers that we have otherwise. But it's not that important, right? So I would much rather see a charger off of Interstate 80 in Wyoming than I would a charger here. That would be a crucial charger. This is just important and nice to have, but not crucial. So it's only getting an 8 out of 10 for location. Finally, for speed. This is a weird gray area where it's hard to rank these chargers. They're 125 kilowatt in theory, as long as no one's using the other charger. But where does 125 kilowatts sort of fit into that ranking, right? It's obviously not as fast as 150 or 350 kilowatts, but it's still an improvement over the 50 kilowatt to the 62.5 kilowatt to the 100 kilowatt, the 200 amp chargers. So it sits in that little gray area, but I think I've sort of settled on saying these would be about an 8 out of 10 for charging speed. They're fast enough that a really fast charging EV is going to be in and out of here in a reasonable amount of time. You're not going to do the 20 minute or even the 25 to 30 minute charging up to 80% like you would in a Porsche Taycan or an Audi e-tron or something like that, but you'll get pretty close, and I think enough that it's worth it, right? It's a valuable charging speed to have. And then, like I said, for slower charging, smaller battery EVs, you could have 4 of them plugged in here, all charging at their max speed. In 35 to 45 minutes, you're going to be back on the road again for another 2 to 2.5 hours. So I think the speed is good. It could use some improvement, but 8 out of 10 for charging speed. All right, and that brings us to a total site score of 40 out of 50, which is a B, and I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. 7-Eleven, ChargePoint, this is a good site. I really like it, and I think a B is well deserved. There are only a few things, right, that you would need to push this site all the way up to an A. Maybe another pair of 125 kilowatt chargers, maybe some coverings for these chargers. We're really looking at nickeling and diming our way up to an A though, because this is a really solid site. Any EV owners who live in the Bay Area or Sacramento or maybe up at Tahoe and traverse back and forth along this strip of road, anyone just in and around the West Sacramento area, the winds were really bad today, probably 10, 15, 20 mile an hour headwind on freeway speed driving, took a toll on my efficiency. I was going to need to charge no matter what. It's nice to have these faster chargers to charge up while I'm running my errands down here, just being in this region, right? So overall, I think it's a great site. It's a solid site. It's just off the freeway. It's just where you'd want it to be. The services are in place. Yeah, I've got no complaints. So let me know what you think. Have you had a chance to use these ChargePoint Express units? Have you had a chance to use these 7-Eleven chargers? Do you have a 7-Eleven near you that you think could use some of these chargers? If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. There'll be a lot more of the charging site videos on the way. I'm having to do them sort of in absentia because these are local chargers, hard to find the time to review them while I'm running errands, but look forward to some of those. And as always, thank you for watching.